Hello and welcome to the History Hub channel. Today we'll be looking into the Gupta kingdom and we'll be looking into the administration, economic conditions, social life, art and architecture of Gupta period. So up till last video we looked into the political history of the Guptas. So we learnt about the Sri Gupta who founded the kingdom in somewhere around 240 AD. Then we looked into Chandragupta, we looked into Samudragupta, then we looked into Chandragupta too, and then we also looked into the fall of the Gupta kingdom. Today we will focus on the how was life in the Gupta kingdom, from the administration, how was the administration, and how was the economic conditions, and all we will look into. So the first thing we will look is the administration. Okay, so in during the Gupta kingdom, the king was the most powerful entity. So there was a king, he was the most powerful person. So the king was always most often hereditary, that is, after father dies he would his son would succeed. So that was how it was in Gupta kingdom. But in some places it was also a fight of war. Whoever is the most powerful would try to upset the kingdom. So it was the same in Gupta kingdom also. It was hereditary most often, or sometimes there would also be wars fought based on that. Whoever is most powerful would become the king. Now the king had various titles, like he had Rajadi Raja. You saw the Chandragupta one, sorry, Sri Gupta having title as Rajadi Raja, Rajadi or Maharaja. Sri Gupta had the title of Maharaja and all. Whereas Chandragupta one had taken the title of Maharajadi Raja. So they used to have big titles like this, just to show the people that they were powerful, and also they had conquered many places, many kingdoms and all. So this was that was one thing, and there was also something called monarchy. So you have already seen monarchy, where king is the one who rules the country. What about the republics? We had seen in the republics chapter that there were also some powerful people who used to rule the kingdom. Rather than a king, there would be a group of people ruling the kingdom. Such a thing is known as republic. So even during the Gupta kingdom, there were small republics in various places in Rajasthan, and in other places there were some republics also surviving. So when both monarchy and republics were existing, though monarchy was more. Then the king had various titles, I told you. Then king was also very powerful. Both he was the military head, he was the judicial head. In military head means he used to have an army, he used to lead the army. So he was a powerful person. So king was powerful. Okay. He was also judiciary head. That is, he acted as a judge. He used to solve the criminal and civil cases that came to him. So he was a supreme judicial head. Now what we call as the civil court, high court and supreme court, all of them, the supreme court was the king itself. So a king was very powerful. Now king also had council of ministers. Council, okay. What is a council? Council is a group of very important people. So they would advise the king. So they were like a close circle of people. Like there would be prince, then there would be governors, there would be important ministers, there would be the priest, or there would be the senapati, that is the army head. So few people whom the king trusted, they formed the council of ministers. It is also known as Mantri Parishad. Mantri is minister, Parishad is the council. So this council of ministers used to guide the king. So if ever some crime happened, so first the council of ministers would discuss, and then they would give their decisions to the king. The king would look into all the matters and then give a final verdict. Okay. So king was supreme, but he was guided by council of ministers. Then, so now let us, this was how the kingdom functioned. Now let us take a look into the administration. Okay. Now we know that the Gupta kingdom was an empire. So it had a big lot of regions under it. So what did the Gupta kings do? They decentralized it. What do you mean by decentralization? So what they did was they divided the entire kingdom into, so let's say their kingdom is very big. They divided into provinces. Okay, various parts were provinces like this. And each provinces was also divided into districts. Okay, the districts would be divided into villages or cities. Okay, so because it was a big empire, they divided it. So there would be provinces, which are big places like this. Provinces would be divided into districts like this. These are all districts. Each district would have a village or a number of villages and towns. Okay, for example, Magdha is a province. Magdha is a bigger region. Under Magdha, Patliputra is a district. Patliputra, Rajgriha, Gaya, all of them are districts. Under districts comes small villages or towns. So this way they divided the region, big regions. Okay. Once they divided it, they appointed important people for all this. So provinces were headed by governors. Okay. District also had a head. The village had a headman. So all these people used to report to the king. Okay. So each provinces was governed by a governor. Governor who acted like a king for these provinces. Any big matters, he would take it to the king. Similarly, in a village, headman used to be there. He used to look after the village. He used to collect the taxes from the village and then give it to the king. So that's how they divided. So instead of ruling the entire region as a king, the king divided it into provinces so that each provinces would be led by people. So that thing would be it would be easier for him to rule the kingdom. So in villages there was a headman. There were some people from the kingdom also who used to come and sit with him and guide him. Headman used to collect the taxes. He used to give judgment. So there was a panchayat and all. And then there was a person called Samanta. He used to collect the taxes. He also used to act as intermediary between the king and the headman. You need somebody should give orders to the headman, right, from top. So Samanta was there. Samanta is a person between the headman and the king. So he used to come and give orders and probably guide him also. So this was the way it functioned. So they decentralized. So the power was decentralized. Decentralized means power was given to the various other people in the hierarchy. King was there, but under him the power was distributed. Okay. So that is about the administration. Certain posts were hereditary. Like for example, the priest's son might be the next priest. Similarly, in poet Harisena, we have talked about Harisena in Allahabad pillar inscription, right? Harisena's father was a poet. After his death, Harisena was the poet in the court of Samudragupta. So some of the posts were hereditary. Okay. So this is about the administration part. What is the administration part? That the empire was decentralized. It had provinces, districts and villages. Each of them were governed by different people, and posts were hereditary. The king was most powerful. He also had a council of ministers. There was also Senapati, then Amatya. There were various other peoples like that. who were collecting taxes, who were doing different duties. There was an army, so there were chariots, cavalry, and all, and people who they were feudatories. Feudatories in the sense, whoever the Gupta kingdom captured, they would also have their own army. They would used to give the army. So all this comes under administration. This one. So next, let us take a look into the economic. So in economic condition, we will look into how was the agriculture. So in this we will look into agriculture. We will look into industries. We will look into trade. So all this is economics, right? How is the state functioning? How is the kingdom functioning? Where is the money coming from? Where is the revenue? That is economics. So let us see. Agriculture, there were a lot of lands in the Gupta kingdom. They were all bound, they were all surveyed, and they had made boundaries. They used to grow various crops, and tax was also collected. In fact, the farmers used to give a lot of tax. 1/6 of the produce they used to give as tax to the king. So that is about the agriculture. Then in industries, there used to be a lot of trade happening. There were textiles, there were craftsmen. Textiles, we had cotton, silk, and all that. Various centers like Mathura and Gaya, all of them had come. There were town centers. So industries was also at a high this one. Okay. So this is about agriculture, industries. What about trade? Trade, we have already seen that many ports were captured during Gupta Empire. So they used to trade with the Romans. They used to trade with Europeans, other Europeans, and trade used to happen through the oceans. So products from China, India used to go to places like Ceylon and all other places. So there was good trading happening. In fact, you remember in Chandragupta too, he had captured ports in Gujarat regions, right? So because he captured the ports, he was also capturing the sea route. Trade used to happen. So taxes were collected from the traders, and tax was there for agriculture. There was a toll tax. So goods like pearls, ivory, textiles used to be exported out, and we used to get horses, many like precious gems and all we used to import also. So that is about and in fact the trade was very favorable, in the sense we used to export a lot more. India had a lot of products to export, whereas we used to get very less products from the outside world. So what happened was, there was an they had, the Romans and others who used to trade with us. They had to give a lot of gold and silver. They had to pay in money. So they used to buy spices from us, but they used to pay in gold. They used to buy textiles, but they used to pay in gold. So a lot of gold and silver coins started coming into the country during the Gupta time. It was even there during the Kushan rule, but Gupta age, the trade was very favorable. So the prosperity of the kingdom increased. Okay. So that is about the economic condition. What and all did we learn? We learned how was the agriculture. A lot of crops used to be grown, taxes used to be there. There were a lot of industries also, like textile industry, craft industry. People used to work in iron, bronze, and all. And then there was trade. Trade used to be very good. It used to go through land and sea. There was interoceanic trading. Different countries used to participate, and trade was very favorable. All this we saw. Next, we will look into the social life. Okay, how was the social life? So in this, we will look into the caste system. The caste system was very rigid. Okay, and in fact, you have already seen the division of Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and all, Shudras, and all. There was also another category of people called Chandalas. These were the lowest caste, and they used to live outside the village. They were untouchables. Nobody would be able to touch them. They used to do very low form of work like cleaning and scavenging and sewage and all that. So Chandalas were the nobody were allowed to touch them, which this was a very wrong thing, but it used to exist during the Gupta times. Then not only that, even the condition of women is not good. There were, there was sati system. So what's the sati system? When a husband dies, the wife also should die along with him. So that was the sati system. So this was practiced. There were widows, and women were dependent on the family. They didn't have any property. So the only thing a woman would get or a girl would get was jewelry. So she had no property and all. So she was very much dependent on the family. Okay. Then apart from that, there were religious religion was, there was Hinduism, there was Jainism, there was Buddhism. So the people used to worship Shiva, Vishnu, even Shakti, that is Devi, all of them. Even Jainism was there. Buddhist Jatka tales and all were written during that time. Buddhist images were made. So the Gupta rulers were quite tolerant. What do you mean by tolerant? That is, every faith, Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism and all existed side by side. The Gupta kings gave patronage to different religions and built temples, and they built cave temples, they built stupas, they built for Jains chaityas and all that. Okay, so that is a bit about the religion. So there was tolerance, and the bhakti cult. Bhakti cult became popular. Bhakti is devotion to God. Me and my God, that's all. So that was growing. So instead of too many rituals, rules and all, me and my God. So that is bhakti, devotion. So that was also growing. So a lot of songs and a lot of devotion was prominent during this time. So this is about the social life that talks about caste. Caste was rigid. There were chandalas, which were the lowest. The condition of women was okay, but there was practice of sati. Widows were there, and they were dependent on their family. Religion, there was a lot of religions, and there was toleration in that. Okay. Then coming to the literature. Okay. We'll talk about art and architecture, and then we'll talk about. So in art, let's talk about. So in art, the Gupta kingdom was known as the Golden Age. So, because lot of temples, shrines, then sculpturing, then books, and all of them were created in the Gupta period. That is from sometime between 300 to 500 AD. This was a golden period. Okay, we will see how. Okay, there was a lot of growth of art, architecture, then books, then paintings, then temples, shrines, building, everything, and coins used to come. So all this was considered as the golden age. Okay, we will see how it was. Okay, so in art, then if you see the art period, we will talk about Ajanta paintings. So if you see the Ajanta paintings, they are all made up of beautifully done. They all talk about Buddha, Buddha's life. A lot of stories about Buddha in his life. So and those colors are still surviving. If you go and visit the Ajanta caves and see the paintings, they are still surviving from that period. Okay, so the Ajanta paintings were done during the Gupta time period. Then they also and if you see Samudragupta, his coins had veena. Veena is a musical instrument. Samudragupta himself used to play the veena. So they were all music developed, and so in fact that is one proof was Veena Samudragupta himself was a scholar of music. Okay. Then Chandragupta too. I remember I told that Chandragupta too had 9 gems in his court. So Kalidasa was there, Varaha Mihira was there. So all of them were there in his court. So they produced a lot of books. So that's why it's called as the golden age. We will talk about what books under literature, but in art, it is sufficient to know that it was a golden age. Then architecture. Coming to architecture, temples were built in Diogar. So temples were built by the Dashavatara temple was there in Diogar. So beautiful temples were built like Shiva, Vishnu and all. Then images of Buddha were also there. Buddha images were also there. So that was there in Sarnath, Mathura and all. Then paintings we have already seen. Then bronze and iron craft people, there were a lot of people, and one of the Gupta period iron pillar is still we can see in the Qutub Minar area. So that has not yet rusted, not even rusted. The 1,000-2,000 year old iron pillar is still standing in the country. So you can imagine how good they were in metals. They used to work with metals like bronze, iron, the craft people, and they used to build pillars. They used to build beautiful temples and all. That's why art and architecture was very good during the Gupta age. So what it all we covered in art? It is a golden age. Then Ajanta paintings were done during that time. Even Buddhist images and all were done. In the architecture, the temples of Diogar, Buddha's images and all were there. And not only that, we have seen that there were 9 gems in Chandragupta II king, Chandragupta II, and they produced a lot of books or literature. So we will look into literature now and see what and all had been produced. Okay. So now we have seen administration, economic conditions, social life. One last topic is literature. So in literature, we have seen that Chandragupta II had 9 gems in his court. One of them was Kalidasa, and he wrote a lot of books like Shakuntala, and Raghuvamsha and Meghaduta. So many books he has written. So in that we get a lot of information during the Gupta time. Also he wrote mostly in Sanskrit. All his dramas are in Sanskrit. So Sanskrit was given a lot of patronage. Then we also have someone named Vishnu Sharma. He wrote the Panchatantra. You have read the stories of Panchatantra. So that was also during the Gupta age. Vishnu Sharma wrote. Then in science fields, lot of science and maths fields, lot of discoveries were done. Okay, one of who did that? That is Aryabhatta. So he told that the earth revolves around the sun. He also told that earth moves around its axis. Okay, this was his discoveries to the world, which is a very important thing. Back then people thought there were various theories. Some said sun is in the center, some said earth is in the center, some thought that sun moves around the earth and all that. Aryabhatta through maths calculations found that earth was actually revolving around the sun, and earth was also rotating around its axis. That is one thing. Then he also told about eclipses. So we know lunar eclipse, solar eclipse. So he told what caused it. So back then they used to believe that the sun would, momentarily become dark because some demon would swallow the sun, or somebody would swallow the moon and all that. So mathematically, Aryabhatta proved that how eclipses are actually formed, how the sun actually is overshadowed, and how moon becomes partially or fully covered. All this he talks about in his eclipses. Then and then in this is in science or astronomy he talks about, and in maths he was the one who invented the zero. Then he was the one who spoke about decimal system. So you know the point system, right? 1.0, 1.1, 1.2. All this decimal representation was done by Aryabhatta. In fact, he wrote a book, Aryabhattian. And most of his concepts are explained in this. Okay, so this is about Aryabhatta. Then there was one more person, Varahamihira. He also talked about Earth revolving around the sun, and he and another person wrote a book called Brihad Samhita. Okay, this is also his contributions towards astronomy. So now you can see Kalidasa wrote great books like Shakuntala, Raghuvamsha and all that, that too in Sanskrit. Vishnu Sharma contributed to Panchatantra. In science fields, we discovered about Earth, we discovered about eclipses, we discovered about rotation, revolution and all. Then in maths, we invented the zero, the decimal system. That's why Gupta is known as the golden age. Not only that, Varahamihira wrote Brihad Samhita, Aryabhatta wrote Aryabhattiyan, all this. So there was a lot of growth in thinking and new ideas using mathematical calculations. There was growth in paintings. Ajanta paintings are still surviving. Then we have iron pillars that are still surviving from that period. So that shows that the craft people during that time had secret understanding of all metals. They knew how to create rust-free iron pillars that are still standing today. So that is about the Gupta period. The next lesson we will look into Harshavardhana and his rule.